Welcome back to the channel, where today we're doing something with the Master Grade Buster Gundam. We have recently passed 500 subscribers, which is why there's a second video in 2 months, which is very fast paced for me. Additionally, because some guy in my last video said that my backdrops were boring, I had a friend at work 3D print me a hanger, a Gundam hanger, that we'll see a little bit later in this video. At this point, it's completely disassembled, and that took quite a bit of work. Anyway, onto the actual Gundam itself. So whenever I do these projects, I don't typically have the biggest plan in mind. However, what I do is take note of points of interest while I'm going through the assembly process of the kit, such as I'm doing here with the backpack. I notice that these big holes are there that typically you'd put those side pegs on. And then later, while going through the assembly process as well, I noticed that there were ball joints on the hip gun parts. If you simply take off the side plates of the backpack, like I did there, you can take the ball joints of these hip parts, such as I'm doing here with a single hand, of course. You can fit them in perfectly, and it's a very tight and comfortable fit. So right there is a very good example of kind of my thought process. And yeah, like I said, very tight, shook the hell out of it and not going anywhere. This is the kit assembled with no customization done yet. Always a good idea to pre-assemble your kit before doing any kit bashing, just to find those points of interest that I talked about and come up with any other ideas while you're at it. So here we're kind of taking a quick look at my hip accessory gun idea on the backpack, and it's looking good so far. So I took note of my inventory of extra Gunpla parts, and I noticed I still had a ton of Master Grade Thunderbolt Verkaw stuff left over. That kind of got the wheels turned in my mind, and I wanted to do something similar to that. So I needed to attach the weapons onto each of his arms and a shield to each of those weapons. And I knew I needed more stability than just the hands, so I also attached them to the arms via these extra shoulder and PC pieces. This was clipped, cut, and cleaned up as needed, and then glued to facilitate this, much like this turret here from Warhammer 40,000 was for the backpack shoulder guns. These can also fold into themselves while attached to the backpack, which is very nice. Next up were the thrusters from the Master Grade Thunderbolt Verkaw kit that I need to use up, and much like the turrets, this was simply glued to the backpack to facilitate this, as we see here. So this is the backpack assembled but not yet primed or anything like that, of course. After this, I needed a way to attach the shields to the guns. I had these extra hand pieces where the ball joints of the hand pieces actually fit into the shields themselves perfectly, as these pieces also have a ball joint area on the attachment on the inside. To give you an idea of what these guns will look like attached to the arms, here is the kit with some of the customization done, with the shields not yet attached, however. After this, I still had an open area on the laser gun that's going to be on his right arm. I needed to fill that in with something. Instead of something like milliput, I had this extra wiring left over. So here are all the pieces with the customization now completed, and that wire inputted onto the actual laser rifle. Backpack has those turret guns with detachable arms that can maneuver themselves, as well as these shields that can fit into the ball joints that can be removed as needed, and then the actual kit itself. Additionally, I had some leftover feet pieces from the Thunderbolt Verkaw that I attached to the shoulders to kind of give him a wider stance and more of a silhouette. Then the last thing I did was attach some 3D printed ERA plating onto his knees, his hips, and his shoulders. We also put some on the shield as well. This gives generally the kit more of a full armored appearance, if you will. Here we can see that we masked up all the areas that are going to be connecting and jointing onto the various pieces onto the model itself, but the model itself we're priming as one piece. The reason for that I will explain here in a second, as we see the general silhouette and the kit itself completely primed in black. But the reason why we do prime the kit generally assembled as opposed to piece by piece is that we can see the areas of each piece that we need to paint and the areas that we don't need to paint. As anybody knows, if you paint an area that is generally going to be, moving or hidden or something like that, it's going to make the fit a bit tighter, a bit harder, and generally more difficult. Finally bit the bullet for this project and bought myself an airbrush. I figured it was high time I do so after so many Gunpla projects. It's just practical and makes the most sense to do. Bought that from my friendly local hobby store, which is what I always recommend you do as well. The color that I use to the airbrush is rust gray. This is a blue-gray type of color, very pastel and flat. The secondary color that I use actually through a spray can left over from my Zoc project is a neutral gray. The third color that I'll be using is black, and these are actually pieces I'm just leaving as is from the Prime, since it is the exact same color that I'd be using anyway. And then of course we have our metallics and general other colors that we'll be filling in. This ended up being a very Gundam Vidar looking color scheme. But the blue itself through the airbrush turned out fantastic. I don't want to toot my own horn or whatever, but I figured I got the grasp of it fairly well, and I didn't have any significant blemishes or anything like that. Any areas that seem unpainted are intentionally done so. So after that, blue was of course the gray through the spray can that I have extensive experience with, that I also used on the Zoc kit recently. So using leftovers of that was very nice, just so I'm not, wasting anything. After that was some metallics, either hand painted or through a rattle can, as well as a little bit of chrome through that rattle can I had on some previous projects. A little bit of hand painting here on this laser rifle through those wires and the lenses that we see here. If you're interested on how to paint these lenses, you can check out my previous video, the Armored Core kit, where I kind of give an explanation on that. I also painted up the shoulder missiles that come with the Buster Gundam. And while I was at it, I also painted the tiny little lenses on the hip piece that we see here. Just taking a quick look while I'm assembling all the painted pieces to get a general sense of how it's going to look. Oh, and I like it already. I think it's a very sharp color scheme because you only steal from the best. Taking a look at the kit assembled with all the pieces with their base coats down. Nothing too detailed or crazy done quite yet, but I wanted to just take a look and oh, it looks so good. Also, while I was at it, I primed and assembled that hanger that I was talking about earlier in the project. I needed to make sure I had enough open space where I could move and kind of pose and stand all my kits as needed, so I didn't do anything crazy with the walkway. Putting the kit onto the hanger here, we can see exactly what I'm talking about. Just because it's so wide and big, if I had anything else in front of him, it would just be kind of ridiculous and a bit too much. After hemming and hawing about it for a while, I decided to paint the V-fin classic yellow. I think the kit before this just looked a bit flat and kind of it melted into each other, so to speak. I think this just breaks it up just enough to make the kit pop a bit more. And it looks a lot better now because of it, especially with those green eyes. Looks pretty good. So for some extra detailing, I took a lighter shade of the gray blue that I was using earlier, and I just painted in some small areas on some pieces, as we see here as a small example. This serves to kind of just do some general color separation and break up the kit a bit more, make it a bit more dynamic, and yeah, looks a lot better because of this, and it doesn't take a lot of extra time, thankfully. After that, we want to do some additional detailing on the weapons and the backpack themselves. We'll see here in the backpack that I did kind of a burnt metal effect on the thrusters, and I also did this on the gun barrels themselves. This was achieved with some various blue, purple, and red paints. And then I did some detailing on the weapons, mainly this laser cannon via the lenses, those wires, and again, that burnt heated metal effect on the tip of the gun. That's all the detail painting that I'll be doing on this kit, and this is before I go into the decaling process. Admittedly, at this stage, this is where I think I made a mistake. I think I should have done a gloss coat on all of these. The reason for this is that because of the decals themselves and how they look, they will be inherently a little bit glossy. If you put a gloss coat on everything first and then decals on top, they will naturally blend in a bit more. And then you do a matte coat on top of that several times to flatten it back out if you are not happy with the glossiness of everything. However, I didn't have any gloss coat, so I didn't do that. So I went right into the decal process here. As we can see here, I got several sheets. These ones came great from the mail. This set, however, did not. And it is a small hint to what our next video project might be. Exciting. All the decaling is done here, as well as 4 matte top coats. These top coats were done by the instructions on the can themselves, 20 centimeters away, 2 to 3 small sprays, waiting about an hour and a half between each coat. I did my 4th one, however, the next day after. And then the hanger itself. I just attacked this with some rattle cans. It's way too big for the airbrush. And I used a light gray on top of a dark gray to kind of achieve more of a zenithal effect on it more than anything. The Master Grade Buster Gundam came with some tiny dudes, so I know I needed to paint them as well for the hanger since they're in scale. And here they are painted. I know that they're supposed to be seat characters, but since I'm kind of going with an Earth Federation theme, I decided to paint them up as Earth Federation characters, both a pilot in a Zero suit and an officer uniform. I did some very quick painting to the hanger itself, nothing too crazy, though it was a pain in the ass to paint. I really should have painted it before assembling it, but I'm a huge idiot. But as we can see here, some very small decals were used just on the elevator lift parts, which I think are very cute. Some painting done on those wirings, some very small hazard stripe areas, and again, those characters are very to scale, which is very nice. This creates a generally nice backdrop and a good picture area for my Gunpla, and a nice display set for my shelf. And not only will it be a great display set, but it'll also be a great set piece for the upcoming showcase. Man, my next purchase definitely needs to be like a photo booth or a light box or something, because I was taking all those videos and photos in my bathroom, such as I'm doing here now, as we take a better look at the kit itself. If you wanted to see more of a slower, more detailed look at everything I've done. So we can kind of take a small glimpse at what I was referring to in regards to missing that gloss coat. As we saw on the shoulder decals, they kind of glimmer a little bit in the light, which is unfortunate. I feel like, again, if we had that gloss coat underneath before doing that matte coat, maybe that wouldn't be so noticeable, but it is what it is. Otherwise, I think the kit turned out fantastic. Easily my best work, I would say. The creativity matched with the painting and the decal work and just everything else. It looks great. I am very happy I did not do any weathering on this. I'm very happy that it is clean. I made lots of wise choices throughout this whole thing. Very efficient process throughout this entire project, which I'm very happy with. I also wanted to give a shout out to Panel Hub in Winnipeg, Manitoba. This is not like a sponsorship or anything, but this is where I bought the kit from. It's a brand new Gunpla store in Winnipeg, and they're a really cool couple that own it. They hooked me up with that part separator tool, and they're just awesome. So yeah. As we close out the video here, just wanted to kind of give my final thoughts. Again, I think it looks great, probably my best work, and I wanted to thank anybody and everybody who has watched or been watching my content. I recently passed 500 subscribers, which is, huge for me, as well as my last video performing very well. Not that I live or die on performance. I kind of just put these videos up because I have fun with it. But in general, this is a very positive output for my energy and my time. And I'm just thrilled that people seem to enjoy it as much as I do. So hopefully I can see you guys back for the next project that I'll be working on as soon as I can. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
All right. I demand to know what you think you're doing.
I was wondering what it is you're fighting for, Mr. Bright.
This is not the time to get philosophical on me, Amuro. Stand up this instant.
Hey!